there were a lot of things that were silent. There were a lot of things that were unsaid. There was a lot of fear and a lot of worry and a lot of anxiety that is passed on to your children. All that sadness and worry on her face. That's kind of what you got raised by. And so, it's not a very comforting feeling to look at your parents and they're always either worried or angry. And that's what they were. And so I joke sometimes that I was raised by fear and anger, my mother and my father. Their parents sent them off to synagogue one Saturday morning. And Leo said, we're not going to synagogue. I'm going swimming in the Rhine. And so Leo would go swimming in the Rhine, and they came home, and he got his little sister to iron his clothes so they didn't look like he'd been swimming. And she really looked up to her older brother a lot. After Kristallnacht, that her father was arrested, and that with the other Jewish fathers in the community. He was only in Dachau for a month or 6 weeks, and she would always say he was not the same strong father that she knew. It was her father being diminished that way by being abused and tortured or whatever in Dachau that really, I think, is the first thing that smacked her of what was going on. She was little, so she was born in 1928. So Kristallnacht, she was 10 years old. She was 12 when they were deported. Her mother and her brother she was deported with, and they were in Gers and Rivesaltes in France. Her father spent the war in England trying to get them over, but then the war started and they were kind of trapped. She was taken away by the OSE, the French social service organization, and she never talked much about separating from her mother. I think so that was also very hard.
Bald ist dein Geburtstag. Schon der zweite Geburtstag, an dem du allein bist und wir ohne dich, armer Papa. Es sind am 7. Juni schon 3 Jahre, seitdem du uns verlassen hast. 3 Jahre sind es schon, seitdem unser schönes Zuhause gestört wurde. Ich kann mich noch sehr gut daran erinnern, als du gingst. Es war ein Freitag. Ich erinnere mich so gut daran, weil es damals Zeit für den Wochenmarkt war. Jetzt sind schon 3 Jahre vergangen. Wir haben in dieser Zeit viel durchgemacht. Besonders unsere liebe Mama und du sicherlich auch. Wie schön es nur war, als wir noch alle beisammen waren, vor dem 10. November 1938. Hoffentlich wird es nicht mehr allzu lange dauern, bis wir uns wiedersehen können. Wir müssen nur Geduld haben und aushalten. Alles hat ein Ende, auch diese Art des Lebens. Wenn wir wieder zusammen sind, wird alles wieder gut.
When I was growing up, she would tell me that her father died of a broken heart. That's all I ever heard was my father died of a broken heart. Technically, he had a heart attack, so I guess he did, right? When we moved into a house from an apartment to a bigger house, to a bigger apartment actually, when I was 8 years old. And we had a room kind of just like this with no furniture in it, which as an 8-year-old was great because I had a playground. But she would not get furniture because she was afraid that we would be deported. And there was one day where I was little and I was going to school and the crossing guard who used to help me across the street wasn't there, and I ran back home and I said, what happened? Because it was one of these signals that maybe something was wrong. Well, it's ridiculous. There was nothing wrong. But when you're taught that something is going to happen, if there's a little hint of it, you kind of worry about it. And when I was older and I would go driving and I would come home and I remember I would have this sense of relief as I got close to the house. I was like, I made it home. And years later I was talking to somebody about it and I thought, well, this is really stupid. Why do you feel that way? So, you're raised with these things that are obvious, and you're raised with these things that you don't realize until later are about fear and concern and anger. You don't know where they come from as a child, but you figure it out later.
We always had a very physical, personal reminder that the past really happened in our bubby, our grandmother. And losing her, things felt distant.
The problem is, when you're denying the Holocaust, you're doing more than just saying something didn't happen or this. It carries baggage.
If you want people to believe a lie, you tell a great big lie, and you tell it often, and you make more out of it any chance you get. And Hitler proved it, and we keep proving it again today.
It happened, and it's not out of the realm of possibility that it happens again anywhere.
I guess sort of like vigilance, being on the lookout for what people are saying, what people are doing, and not just large scale, like small scale, like even people I meet. I'm looking for, what attitudes that people might have, things that they might let slip that might reveal a bit of their character.
You should love your neighbor, you should do whatever, you should love other people, and you should know when to tell other people to stop talking. Just because I don't tell somebody to do something violent doesn't mean I didn't inspire them. It's a matter of knowing the impact of our words. If we listen and speak with compassion, it's not that simple, but it's a part of the puzzle. It's what you can do every day.
If your neighbor knocked on your door and said, "Help me, they're coming to take me away," what would you do?